Alright, kings and queens, this is Maurice Henry L. Bay, once again with another video for Moors, by Moors, with Moors. And furthermore, we're going to go into the part 2 of my case and what happened today. And I want everybody to, challenge me also and challenge the information. Don't just take my word for it, cross-reference and whatnot. But in regards to the case that was at hand, that's RIM. It's a case in the Riverside Superior Court jurisdiction, case number RIM 1200448, and that's a case in regards to Maurice Henry, and I'm in my appropriate persona status at the time. Well, earlier today, before I went into the box, I let y'all know that it was just arraignment. It's just the weigh-in, and nobody usually get knocked out in the weigh-in in a boxing match. However, I was going in there to do that to my, to the opponent, which was the people of the state of California and the representing party, which is the district attorney's office. I already filed, before I even went into court today, I already filed my affidavit of facts, written in nature discovery, affidavit of fact, counterclaims, affidavit of fact, writ of mandamus, affidavit of fact, notice of default judgment, affidavit of fact, notice to the court, demand and request for production in the Article 3 court, whatever. So, shortly after I made the first video, I was approached by a public defender, which, contrary to how my normal practice or my normal, approach, I used to fire the public defender, just simply fire him or her, and just go in right pro per. But instead, I put my ego aside and I said, I humbled myself before the public defender, and I needed her. She got a little more wiggle room in the court, so we're going to use that. We're going to reserve the right to counsel, court-appointed counsel, whatever they want to call it. She came outside, she greeted me with the term Mr., which I really didn't go into, let her know I'm not English, French, or German, or nothing like that. I just let her do what she do. She said, "Are you Maurice?" I said, "Yes, I'm here." Usually I wouldn't even acknowledge the name because it's a legal fiction that they were referring to, but I even accepted the name, even as a corporate entity. So I started to go and asking her questions, do you got oath of office filed on the record? And immediately she's like, no, we're not doing business like that. You're not here to interrogate me. I'm here to handle the case, quote unquote. And I said, well, you work for me, don't you? And she said, no, I don't work for you. I work with you, which is, to me, it appealed to my nature, because, I don't want nobody to work for me that's subjecting them to slavery. And I want to work for nobody because that subject me to slavery. So she told me she worked with me. So in my interpretation of working with me, that you're going to use your energy, your effort, and knowledge. And with mine, we're going to use my energy, effort, and knowledge. They're going to merge together, a marriage together, and we're going to, get a lawful remedy and get myself up out of this. So I asked her a simple question: what is driving factually? And she started going into legal interpretation and opinion. Told me just because I was sitting behind sitting behind the steering wheel of a car or automobile, whatever you want to classify it as, that I was driving. Immediately I fired her. I got an audio which I'm also put up on YouTube and Facebook and any other public forums, social media networks, just so y'all can tune into it. The judge granted me public defender, not as if he has the authority to grant, but I guess he said he granted me a public defender. I fired her because she was legally incompetent. She was going into legal opinions, and I'm here to, I need lawful remedies, not legal opinions. So I fired her, and because now, and at this time, I'm pro per, which it's an abbreviation for propria persona. At least we're led to believe that, I always go full pronunciation of propria persona. And the judge tells me, you know, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, nolo contender, which is no contest, which is still treated as a guilty plea anyway. You know, have the same results as a guilty plea. A guilty plea, just no trial. And I go on there, say for the record, on the record, and let the record show that I'm only here under threat, duress, and coercion. He said, how do you feel threatened? I said, sir, you know, because he's not my honor or judge, so I call him sir. I could have called him Stewart, but I told him, sir, I was, you know, with the threat of arrest and slavery. I'm led to believe that if I don't show up for court, then some alleged judicial officer would try to show up on my doorstep and arrest me. You know, and he's like, I don't arrest people. You know, that's their job. And I was like, and he pointed to the bailiffs. And I don't understand that, but I understand that. However, they don't have. I also stated for the record, they don't have the authority or jurisdiction to do so. So it's violent, it's criminal, and you know I'm here under those circumstances. And before things got out of hand, I just, you know, I usually use the Constitution and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the Moors and the United States citizens. I usually use that approach to get rid of all my cases, and it's been 100% successful.com. However, today I decided we're going to use the aspect of business and economics and finance, you know, in regards to trustee, beneficiary, creditors, and debtors. So this is an approach that I've been studying, and I just decided to implement it today. And I'll give you the response in just a second, because I called the judge, or the administrator. I told him for the record, on the record, I'm putting the court on notice that I'm a flesh and blood man here in Kourt persona sub juris. I am the beneficiary. I'm the clearly intended and express beneficiary for the LLC, Limited Liability Corporation, company, whatever you want to call it, or corporation, Moorish, Gerald Henry, and I appoint you as trustee and dismiss this case and resolve this debt. And I called for my own dismissal. I told him this case is being dismissed, and I walked off. And he got all brolic, started talking loud, and was like, "Hey, come back here on my own perils." You know, and under my own conditions, I decided to return to the bar. And legal jargon, whatever. You know, make a long story short, he goes into some, colorful titles of nobility. I've been wearing this black robe since 1988, and I deal with a lot of quote-unquote constitutionalists, which is a weird term because the only one that has an oath to uphold the Constitution is him, and he called me a crazy constitutionalist, but whatever. He said he went against hundreds of constitutionalists, and they all lose. Who cares? I'm not here to talk about other constitutions. I'm here to get a lawful remedy. He said, how do you plead? I asked him before I plead, you know, even if I did want to play this game with y'all, before I plead, can I see the verified complaint that's filed against me? He looked at the DA. The DA said 1 minute, and I stepped outside. And that's when me and the other kings and queens that came to view this, we were all together in one humble accord. And the DA came outside and asked me if I have a driving license. Now, I do got a driving license, yeah, it's valid, but however, I don't acknowledge it, I don't practice it, I don't use it. I'm not a commercial driver, so therefore I don't even, I don't even produce that information upon request. It's as if it don't exist to me. He said, in front of everybody, you know what, your case is really severe. However, you know, I'm looking forward to dismissing your case. I was like, you should be, arrogantly speaking. I said, you should be looking forward to dismissing it. I'm not here to go to trial. I'm not here to even go, you know, to talk to you. I'm here to get the case dismissed and collect my relief. He's like, your relief? I said, yes. I have a proposed order for $3,000 for even having to defend myself in these frivolous claims. And that proposed order is in my brief. He opens up my case brief, and he also sees like my affidavit of facts and my writ of mandamus. He also sees my case brief that notes, upon dismissal, grant me $3,000 for coming up here. And he was like, oh, well, give me just a second. And this is arraignment, folks, where I'm supposed to enter a plea. Never did. He goes back into a courtroom, and I'm like, damn, this individual is a criminal. Who knows what he's going to do? He's told me to stay outside, and they call me in a minute. About 45 minutes go by, and he come out and say, your case is dismissed. Get out of here. No, he don't come out. A bailiff comes out. Your case is dismissed. Get out of here. You know, abruptly, I kind of like reacted versus respond to him. Hell no. You know, because y'all owe me $3,000 for having to come up here. You know, and it was in my case brief. And I created a little bit of ruckus and noise, but needless to say, it was a victory, absolute dismissal. It's a KO in an arraignment, which I promised the people, which I gave the people, which I showed the people, and this is my evidence and testimony of that knockout or the victory or the whatever you want to call it. I got a lot of people around me today asking, Mo, why are you going into court, banging on judges, banging on DAs? For a long time, I was under threat and intimidation of police officers. You know, how you be driving, operating conveyance, or whatever you want to call it. But for this purpose of this video, we're just going to say driving. I knock my hat off and I start acting normal. Because contrary to popular belief, if the police, police are here to protect and serve the people. However, they banging on the cage of and profiling individuals like myself, being 27, young, quote unquote black, although I ain't black, color, African American, or Negro, none of those colorful titles. But they categorize me as that, and they pull me over, jack me, take my car, impound it, all this other weird stuff. And that's when I started to learn the law, apply the law, and not only save myself. I only did this because I knew people were going to come, and I was going to show them how to get out of, speeding. What's the charges? Speeding, resisting arrest, or violation of probation, disorderly conduct, failure to produce insurance, failure to produce registration, failure to show license, all that other stuff. Case dismissed. And I just want to put you up on that, and stay tuned. It's about a minute clip in his It's a minute audio in his dialogue between me, myself, Maurice Henry L. Bay, and the judge, not the judge, the magistrate, the hearing officer, whatever you want to call him, Stuart Glickman. He was the presiding judge. He was the one acting as if and conducting business. And I do a lot of helping people with their cases, filing papers. But I just want people to know that it's a traffic situation, and according to California, always plug this in your head, California revised statutes, the definition, by definition, driving, the key element of driving is engaging in commerce. Commerce is as to commercial. Commercial is commissions, the exchange of money, which is business, and transactions and whatnot. So if you're not engaged in business, and I use all those words because they're synonymous, they're relative. If you're not engaged in commerce or business, such as a taxi cab driver, tow truck driver, ice cream truck, limo service, if you're not engaged in business on the road, then you're not driving, you're simply traveling. And that key element alone is a reason to demand for dismissal in the court. So, furthermore, study up on your terms and your terminologies and your overall understanding of civil and criminal jurisdiction and the language they use, and implement that. And you will be free, or quote unquote saved, or rendered, or you'll receive a remedy. But I'm gonna go ahead and play this audio. So y'all can tune into the actual live audio of the case. It's only a minute. Some of it's cut off. I wish you could have got more. However, I had my recording device, which was a cell phone, had only captured a minute of it, but that minute is powerful. And it's another Moorish. Contact me. My number's on the Facebook. They'll upload to YouTube. It's Maurice Henry L. Bay. All rights reserved. Power to the people, for the people, by the people. That's 909-520-7190. Other than that, peace and love. Kings and queens, I love y'all. You get at it.